Sax gang. We're jam-packing these 2 hours with a lot of stuff, so we're going to dive right into it. And basically, let me just give you a little housekeeping of the format of what we're going to do. We're basically going to be doing 15 minutes of talking through the technique, giving you exercises, and at the end of every topic, we're going to open it up for Q&A, and that's where you can press the Q&A button, and then we're going to bring on, for a couple of the topics, we're going to bring on a couple attendees who feel like volunteering and going through it with us. So if you can, it would be best to hold your questions until we announce that we're opening it up for questions, and then do it through the Q&A button. Otherwise, it might get lost in the chat. We do see the chat, but again, just hold on to Q&A. So very curious to know who is joining us for the first time. If you are brand new, please type into the chat, first time. Let's see you. Let's see all these first timers. Hey, James. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That is a lot of you. Are you seeing that, Leo?
Woo!
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of first timers.
Fantastic. All right.
I'm down.
And how many of the OG Sax gang is coming back from who joined us from our first workshop? Who's back? Say, I'm back. Hey, okay, round 2, here we go. This time we're doing it real isolation style from both of our studios. All right,
Yep.
Cool. Thank you guys and gals so much. So much for joining us. So the first thing we are going to dive into is practice mindset and techniques. So we're going to be giving you tips for establishing a healthy mindset for the practice room. And I'll start with this one. I think it's really important to make your space as fun and comfortable as possible. Wear some comfy clothes. I'm going to introduce you guys to Muse. Muse is my little bird that sits on the speaker. He does not talk to me. He doesn't judge me, but he does. He watches me. So whatever it is that makes you feel good in your space, set it up. You know, I got some nice plants. I'm just really into walking to the practice room. Oh, very important too. Turn off this stuff. Turn off do not disturb. Practice time is practice time. So wait, who is that?
Who is that? Oh, the panda?
Yeah, who's that?
Oh, that's Justin Bieber Panda.
Is he part of your practice?
Yeah.
Oh,
he's got a pierced ear, and he really likes Justin Bieber a lot.
That's amazing. Okay, so there you go. You guys met Muse and Justin Bieber Panda.
Yeah. Well, his name was originally Panda, but I got him the shirt, and now he goes by Justin Bieber Panda.
I love it. Oh my gosh,
yes, absolutely.
So there you go. Make your space comfortable. Make yourself comfortable. Turn off your devices. Good way to start the practice session.
Yeah. You also want to focus on having your own motivation. You want to motivate yourself because at the end of the day, that's kind of all you have. It's easy to worry about other people and what they're practicing, what they're working on, what they're getting better at. But it's really important to kind of make your own motivation and complete your own goals. Every time I sit down to practice, I make sure that I have all those things in my mind ready to go. That really keeps me going.
Absolutely. That's great. Yeah. Sound advice. The other thing to think about, you guys and gals, is when do you feel your best? Is when do you have the most energy, the most focus? It would be good to set your practice schedule to around the same time every day. Of course, like things come up, life changes, but if you can kind of get into a groove, say, I like waking up in the morning and doing my routine. I do my meditation, I have my coffee, and then I go straight into the music room and I start to do some practicing and be creative. So I like it getting rolling in the morning, but are you a morning person? Are you afternoon person? Do you like to practice late at night? So think about that when you're putting together your practice in your practice mindset.
Yeah, I'm for some reason I'm thinking of that meme. You know that meme of that like girl where she's like, and she's like that.
Yeah.
Like when you were like in the morning, I was like.
What's your practice time, Leo?
Well, my ideal practice time is super late at night, but I can't do that where I live.
Same.
I used to go to Manhattan School of Music, kind of work there. And the practice rooms were open super late, and I love just grinding in the middle of the night. It always gives me this feeling of extra time. And then I used to live in an area of Philly that was like super loud, and I could practice in the basement all the time. But now it's kind of residential. So I don't do that. So going back to kind of what I was saying about this whole idea of keeping yourself as your motivation, this is a general issue I deal with like so much. My competitive drive gets me in a good way. It gets me going in a good way sometimes, but it can also get me down sometimes too.
Mm.
So it's really important, like, not to compare yourself to other people and worry about being the best.
Oh yeah.
I'm always worried, like, oh, I'm never going to be the best at this exercise. I'm never going to be the best at that. I'm never going to play the fastest. I'm never going to do this. And to an extent, that's still true. But I found what I am the best at. So I try to work on the things that I really care about,
Yeah.
and that I want to work on, and not worry about other people. And,
I know I've really dealt with that myself too. And this next tip piggybacks on that well, because it's great to have yourself be your sole motivator, and to really just try to beat your own best instead of focusing outward, focus inward. And the other thing is, do set some goals for yourself in your practice session. This is something that I think would have helped me a lot in my beginning practice days, because so many of not my teachers actually, I'll just say a lot of the advice that was going around from other players and people was saying, you have to practice like 4 hours a day, or some people were even saying like 8 hours a day. And I am not a
that's
marathon
crazy.
practicer.
I can't do that. I can't do that.
I can hardly focus for 2 hours. Like I have to take breaks. I think it's good to stretch out and take breaks. So but the thing that ended up happening with that was I started to feel guilty if I didn't practice for X amount of time. But what I would really encourage for all of you is, instead of focusing on the amount of time that you're logging, really set your own goals, right? Like, okay, today's practice session, I'm going to get through these 5 scales and work on this transcription. And for however that long or short that takes, great, that's my practice session. And so set realistic goals instead of just worrying about logging time, and really be present in the moment. I think it's much better if you only had 15 minutes to do focus practicing. That is much better than just like kind of meander practicing for 3 hours. And if you all know what we're talking about, or you've been there, you felt that, give a shout in the chat. How many of you have felt like that you're kind of just meandering when you're practicing and wish you knew what you were focusing on? Anybody? Yeah. So all the time, I've been there. So wow, that's a lot of people. Oh my God, saying yes for sure. Okay, wow.
Yeah, when
so
I
set
was
some goals.
Yeah, when I was at Manhattan School of Music, my improv teacher bet me I couldn't practice for 8 hours a day for 10 hours straight, or 8 hours a day for 10 days straight. And it was actually like not that much money, but I took it as this goal. So I was like, I'm going to do it no matter what. I'm going to practice for 8 hours a day no matter what, just to prove him wrong. And I ended up wasting so much time. I mean,
That
it
is
was
such a long time.
It was cool to do. I mean, I'd say I got 3 hours out of it, which is like still great, but
Yeah.
you definitely don't get that full 8. It's kind of like, it reminds me of working out, to be honest. You can't just work out 8 hours. I mean, maybe cardio, but I mean, like lifting, you need to give your muscles some time to regenerate,
Right.
And I think it's kind of the same way with saxophone. I don't think you can necessarily get much out of it in the 8th hour, especially mentally.
I would never make it to I won't even make it to the 3rd hour. I really am not a marathon practicer at all. It's I think I stay a lot more focused if I do maybe an hour tops, but like 30 minutes, take a break, get back into it. And honestly, if I kind of told myself that back when I was starting, I would have cut out a lot of the feelings of guilt, because I felt so much guilt and anxiety for not practicing X amount of hours or whatever, and also never feeling satisfied. So I think setting those realistic goals would be really helpful for some folks out there. Yeah, Angela, you feel me? Yeah.
And also, like, I just want to say also, if you do want to practice 8 hours a day, that's cool too.
True. Oh yeah, go for it.
I in no way want to like shame that. I don't want to shame any type of practicing, really.
That's fantastic.
But I
want to.
I know when I was a kid, when I was a kid. Still, people get into like this little competition, and they can be like, well, I used to practice 4 hours a day. Like, well, that really doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Right.
And also what I can say about practicing is it does get boring. So it is important to change it up. And a lot of times I make my own exercise, which I'll show you later. Some of the exercises I've made that I think have made me improve as much, if not more, than any exercise anyone's given me. You know, you can make your own exercises. That's really cool.
Yeah, I love that. And it's also really important to, I think it's more important to stay consistent. Like, even if you only could get in 30 minutes of practice every single day, that's much better than practicing once a week or once a month for 8 hours. You know what I mean? It's like, if you go to the gym every single day, or you're practicing every single day and you're doing focus practice, you're going to get a lot further than just trying to log X amount of time, because your brain is learning every session. So this is a good segue into talking about practice technique. So that was the mindset, right? Now you're ready. You're like in your space, you're ready to go. So the first thing that I do is do a little bit of warm-ups. I definitely do some long tones and overtones, which we're going to get into in depth a little bit later. So I won't do that now, but I'll also do some scales, get the fingers moving. I do in some thirds, do some fourths. Now, ideally, all with the metronome or backing track. But yeah, that's just really quick warm up, and we'll go over long tones and overtones a little later. And I would also say it's great to like plan out your practice session. So if I knew today, okay, I only have 30 minutes, I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm just gonna allot 5 minutes for my warm ups. I really strongly encourage you to work on the hardest thing for the majority of your practice time. So if you
Agreed.
so if I'm working on this transcription and I'm performing it in like 2 weeks, I'm going to log, 20 minutes of my practice session to just nail that thing. And then, have the warm-ups, bookend that with, having fun. But get at the hardest thing first after your warm-ups, and spend the most amount of time on that thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's really important to have a set plan of what you're going to do and tackle the hardest things. Now, what I want to say is kind of devil's advocate, Leo's advocate over
Leo's
here.
advocate.
Okay. Allow yourself to get off the beaten track sometimes. Okay. Say I have this schedule and I'm all stressed out about it. You don't want to be too stressed and have too much anxiety. So say I'm like, all right, I want to be just like Grace. I'm going to practice my I'm going to practice my scales and thirds.
So, that's some saucy thirds, Leo Pellegrino.
Yeah. So that's okay. This happens to me a lot of times when I'm gonna practice. I want to practice thirds, for example, and I just like the way it sounds. And like ba da 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 ba da 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 da, and like this could be a song. So a lot of times I'll just let it go. I'll just jam for a second, see where that road takes me. Then once it gets to the point of like, once I reach like writer's block, say I'm like, okay, I really like that. And the same, keep going. Then I'm like, oh, what's the next part? Maybe. Oh, that's weird. You know what? Maybe I'll come back to that. But what I'll do is I'll record that first part. And I'll put it in my phone.
You should record that. That's good. That's catchy.
I'll put it. I know it's like
that's really good.
It's so funny because it's just like scales and thirds. So I'm like, oh, that's like so easy. Like, but it sounds nice.
A catchy song's a catchy song. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, exactly. So like I'll record that, put it on my phone, and be like, all right, where was I? I was doing scales and thirds. And also, to be honest, I even liked the next part that I was playing, and I probably would have ventured down that path, but I'm just giving an example of how far I go. Like, when you have writer's block and you're like,
Right.
I don't know the next part. So then just record that, put
Yep.
it in your toolbox, and this is the only time you should have your phone on. Well,
yeah, there we go. It still can be on airplane mode when you can use your voice memo when it's on airplane mode.
You're right. Airplane mode, voice
Yeah.
memo, all that stuff's good. And I mean, this is something that's important for like day-to-day stuff. Like, this happens to me a lot when I'm not practicing. Like, I'll legit wake up from a dream or nightmare, and I'll be like, dun 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 dun. I'm like, what's this groove I have in my head?
Yeah.
And I'll like sing it or something. Anytime you get musical inspiration, I mean, you have no excuse if you have a phone or some type of recording device to just get it down.
Get it down. So important. Because otherwise it's gone.
You never know. Yeah.
I've had moments where I was also practicing. I've come up with full songs there, and I will just pause my practice session. I can see in the chat people are saying, yep, jamming gets me in a better mindset for serious practice. Honestly, whatever makes you feel real good is that's great. So if you want to start your practice, the way we're teaching you guys, it's not saying this is the holy grail. By the way, that goes for like everything that we're talking about. You got to find your own vibe with it. And these are some ideas. These are things that are work with us. But if you want to start your practice session with jamming, like great. And then get into the serious stuff. Awesome. But yeah, I every time I hear a song come on, I log it in the voice memos. The other thing is when you're wrapping up your practice session, you guys, wrap it up. This is really important. End on a high note. And that could literally mean a high note. but I also mean like end on something that you've successfully a successful attempt at something, right? So if you're working on a very challenging piece, go back to that bar that you're nailing and nail it, then put your horn down,
the riff from Danza, I like that.
yeah, I love that. And the reason why I say that is you want to train your brain and those synapses in your brain to come back the next day and pick up where you left off. So you definitely want to just train your brain to be like, okay, successful, boom, feel really good about your practice session and leave it there and then pick it up the next day.
I agree with that 1,000,000%. I don't really know how to say it better.
Love that.
Yeah.
Let's take we got one. Now we're going to open it up for questions just about practice mindset and practice techniques. So if you got questions, put it in the Q&A button, and then we're going to move on to fundamentals. So let's take this Q&A right here. How can busking be related to practice? Can busking be a form of practice? From Doug. Why don't you quickly take that one quickly?
Thank you, Doug. Oh my God.
Thank you, Doug.
So I've been giving a lot of lessons to people, all right, recently. And I'm learning a lot about myself, and through trying to explain this to people.
To that.
Yeah, I feel like I've learned a lot. And one thing I always tell people is there's practice and there's performance. Busking is in between. It's just like practice performance.
Yeah.
So I always tell people to put themselves in a low pressure situation. By low pressure situation, I mean like people are going to be fluctuating in and out through the area that you're playing. So they didn't pay money to see you. It's not something where people are expecting you to play a certain song or a certain set list.
Yep.
You want to put yourself in that type of position. That doesn't have to be busking or playing outside. Could be at a coffee shop or doing something, in the community or, wherever. Could be playing in a museum.
Do you need a permit to busk?
That's a state to state, city to city thing.
All right, Charlie's asking that one.
I personally, I feel like I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I'm a rebel, so I don't care. I personally just play until I'm told not to. That's been what I do. But honestly, in all my years playing in New York City, or any city, I've never had trouble with someone being like, hey, excuse me, you need to stop playing here, blah, blah, blah. I say, I'm so sorry. Thank you so
that
much.
respectful tone is important.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'll make sure not to play. Is there a better time to play here? Oh, you'd rather me not play here ever? Okay, cool. Um,
Sound advice, yeah.
at the end of the day, people can stop you if you have a permit or not, anyways. Uh,
Yeah.
also, the legal sound limit is it's hard to get a sound reader that is accurate.
Yeah.
This is a whole long thing I could get into. I could talk about that for a whole
Totally.
hour. But
Yes.
anyways, yeah.
Love
Yeah.
it. So let's just answer one really quickly, and then you guys we're gonna move on. And by the way, we're gonna have like 20 minutes at the end just for Q&A. So a lot of you are asking questions. We're gonna try to get through as many of them as possible. Really quick, let's answer this one. Is it good to have an off day? I would say that whatever puts you in the best frame of mind mentally. So if you need an off day, and yeah, it's just whatever kind of works for you.
Yeah. I I've had a lot of off days.
Yeah, me too, absolutely.
Sometimes you need an off week.
Yeah. Sometimes you need a Bahamas off week.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, we're going to move on to fundamentals. This is going to be a quick dip into fundamentals for like 10 minutes, and then we're going to do a Q&A about this one. So just for our friends who might be more in the beginning stages of their sax playing, which, by the way, do we have any people who are pretty new in their saxophone journey? If you're a new sax on your beginning journeys, just starting saxophone, say, hey, what's up? All right, Pete's new, Whitney's new. Very cool. So important things about posture. And this actually goes for any, if you're intermediate or advanced, really important to have 2 feet on the ground. And that goes for if you're sitting, if you're standing. There you go. He's giving us a nice, he's got 2 feet on the ground.
I was just trying to show off my white shorts. Sorry.
I'm into it. Yeah. And then important to have really good posture, right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Okay. You want to keep your spine fully straight. Well, actually, I would say it's like a little bit of a curve back. I try to keep my shoulders back because, especially for Barry sax, it tends to pull you forward. So I just mentally think back. I try to keep everything a little bit back.
Yeah.
And yeah, I personally like having my back against a chair, not like leaning back, but just kind of lightly touching. That's a personal thing. Not everybody does that. Some people like sitting right in the very front.
I like sitting in the front.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think that if I played alto, I would feel the same way. Maybe it's something to do with the type of horn.
It might be the size too.
Yeah, because like if I was sitting back, then like the alto would like weirdly rest on the seat.
Right.
You know? So I personally, I like to have my back against the chair.
Yeah.
And basically you want to just, kind of feel it out and feel what position is good for you. I recommend wearing a harness if you're having some type of neck problems. Van Doren harness works really well.
Speaking of neck problems, something that my teacher told me early on, and this goes with sitting straight. I really recommend when you're practicing to try to play, keep the axe straight in front of you. I used to practice like this, and my parents who are tuned in will they'll know exactly what happened. And my teacher was like, Grace, unless you want to be, much older and walking around like this, you got to straighten out, and your back will thank you for it. So when you're performing live, I'm all over the place when I'm performing live, axe is out, here or down. But when I'm practicing, I really try to keep everything as straight as possible, which actually, FYI, I like to do that while sitting on the plane too. That helps my spine a little bit less chiropractic at that point. So here's another important thing that y'all should all be doing when you're breathing. And I see this a lot with my students of breathing the wrong way. Sometimes people, when they breathe, they really fill up their shoulders and then they start to tense here. But when you breathe, you actually really want to be focused on your rib cage. So if you all do this with me, if you put your thumbs in the back of your ribs, because yes, you have ribs in the back, and we're all going to do this right now. We're going to take a breath. And what I want you to do is actually, when you breathe in, you're going to push your thumbs out. So this is the motion of the rib cage. And remember, you got ribs in the front, you got in the back. So let's all try it right now. Here we go. Deep breath in. And then you exhale. And when you exhale, you'll feel your ribs actually moving down. So that's a good thing to kind of practice. Whenever I need more air and I really need to dig in, I'm filling up my entire rib cage and mainly in the back. So remember, like, it's the breath is not coming up here. The breath is coming from your feet up and filling in the rib cage.
Yeah. Sometimes I even picture the air coming from the ground up in through me.
I love that. Yeah.
It's from Mother Nature. It's like from the dirt and the soil beneath the earth. Sometimes that's what I picture. I want to talk a little bit about embouchure.
Yes, please.
Some people ask me about that, and I gotta say, I have noticed generally that a lot of different saxophone players use a lot of different embouchures. That being said, it's good to start somewhere. I was told originally to keep my mouth like this, and I feel like I look like this Tonight Show host named Jay Leno.
Here you go, you guys. We're gonna show you a little Jay Leno.
Yeah, keep that and thing, and try to keep that. You know what I'm saying? There's something about his chin that's so flat. It looks like a great saxophone embouchure. He
has the natural. Let's show one more. Jay Leno has a really natural. He's got a natural embouchure happening.
Yeah, no, it's that really helped me for some reason. Like, so I would do this like little Jay Leno impersonation every time I was about to play saxophone. I'd be like, hey, babe, hope you're having a good time. That being said, I originally kept it pretty solid like this, and that's also more of a clarinet embouchure. A lot of people might say that, because of the angle.
Yeah.
So I ended up just rolling it back a little bit more, and that's what worked for me. So I kind of keep that Jay Leno, and then I go back just a little bit. And at certain times, certain teachers have said they think that I'm rolling it back too far, but at this point, I'm pretty certain that it's worked out. So
I'll also say that for any of you who might be biters on your mouthpiece, because we rest our front teeth, I find it helpful to have this mouthpiece guard right on top. It's a Van Doren plastic guard, and it cuts down the vibrations a little bit on the mouthpiece, which I really like. And that way you don't damage your mouthpiece. And when I put my front teeth on, where my front teeth sit is right in the middle of that patch. So I would say that, the amount of mouthpiece I'm taking in, it's not a ton. Sometimes I see people taking a lot, but a lot of times I see people taking in too little. So you really got to find the sweet spot. And the way that you can experiment with that is by listening to the tone you're creating, so, and also just try moving around on the mouthpiece. But again, my actual mouthpiece, this cover is like, I set it up so that it's kind of touching the end, and then my teeth are right in the middle of that. What do you call these things? Like the
mouthpiece patch?
Yeah, the mouthpiece patch, exactly. So my teeth are right in the middle of the mouthpiece patch. Totally.
I would also suggest getting multiple. I personally go through them pretty fast. And a lot of times when I'm on tour, it's like, oh, okay, I had 3 when I started this tour, and now I have none. And kind of a learn from me experience, I do have teeth, like issues with my teeth that have chipped. My front teeth have chipped a lot over time. That has resulted in some strange explaining to dentists. So if you don't use, especially on a metal mouthpiece, if you don't use a mouthpiece patch over time, you can really hurt yourself, especially because I'm doing so much dancing. So part of that is keeping the mouthpiece. I have to bite down really hard.
I'm so glad you mentioned that about the metal mouthpiece. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little uncomfortable at first, I will say that. And I didn't like it. But after you play it for like 5 to 10 hours plus, you forgot that you even changed anything.
Yeah, I
promise.
actually like it. After I got used to my mouthpiece patch, I realized I liked it a lot more because it cuts down extra vibrations. So when I do take it off now, it feels really weird because I'm like, oh my God, everything's buzzing way more. Let's take a few questions, you guys, about any of these things that we're speaking about. So here we go. Oh, hey Joel. We're gonna take Joel's one of my students.
Oh, word.
Glad you're here, Joel. He says, I play tenor, and when I sit in a chair, the sax hits the chair. Can you sit far enough forward that it is free moving? Tenor's a little bit bigger than alto because usually when I am in the front of my chair, the alto wouldn't hit. I don't. You play way more tenor than me, Leo. Where do you sit with the tenor?
1 second. Let me get my tenor.
Let's get that. And somebody's asking, Whitney's saying, do you ever play with a double embouchure? I don't personally. I think Jay Leno does. I think Jay Leno plays with a double embouchure. I do know some people who do. Back to the question about sitting.
Is this because I used to actually sit, when I do big band, I would actually do tenor in the middle. So.
Oh, you do? You play it right in the middle?
Yeah. I used to. That's what I did.
And is it hitting your chair?
No. I would sit pretty forward. I don't know if you can tell how forward I am, but I was very bored. And then when I had my own little version of Sax Gang when I was in college, shout out to Kevin Subpoena. When I used to play tenor, I would sit with my legs crossed like this. This is the ultimate cool kid sax
but
playing.
that's not good for your spine.
Yeah, so that's why I have to go to a chiropractor and acupuncturist regularly.
We're saving you guys on chiropractic and acupuncture bills. Don't get to a place where you have a broken back. Save your cool moves for the performances. Then go and do all the stuff.
Totally. No, but that ended up it was not good. I mean, who knows what affected my back and stuff the most over time, but I'm sure that did not help.
Yeah. So we briefly answered I do know some people who play with double embouchure. I don't personally, but if that's what feels most comfortable when you're playing and you have good control, I have heard rumors that double embouchure is like the least amount of pressure on your jaw, which is a good thing. So
I'd like to try. Can I just try right now?
Try it, yeah.
I mean, it sounded pretty flat. I don't know. It was great.
I don't know how long I could actually play like that.
That sounded pretty good.
It just feels funny to have that top lip curved over.
Also, if you're trying, I can tell you right now, if you're trying to do the moves that I do, it's not possible because it's just going to fall out of your mouth more often. I would say 1 in every 20 shows, 30 shows, at some point, the mouthpiece just comes out of my mouth because I'm not biting hard enough.
Yeah.
And if it was double embouchure, like when I'm teaching choreography to other like trumpet players and stuff, since it's not in their mouth and they don't have the teeth cling to it, it doesn't work. And I've seen people try to play oboe before and dance.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Actually, speaking of that, we do have a question from Sam Bolton saying, do you have tips for maintaining good embouchure while dancing? I'll just jump in right now and say it's really important to practice your sax playing separately from your dancing. I mean, the only way you'll probably get so comfortable with your embouchure is by really intimately knowing your embouchure and just, I mean, that's the way I do it. Just spending time with the sax and then adding in moves from there. But do walk us through it with Barry because you guys are carrying much more weight too.
So again, things I've learned over time. So if you watch an older video of me, this is not going to be a great representation of how I feel now. You want to continue this posture thing, but just when you're dancing. Like that's a big part of it. So you want to continue to keep your back straight. Like you can do
really important.
You can do crazy stuff. It's like when you do squats, sorry guys, I've been working out a lot, so I'm like really into that. So like,
is anyone doing squats right now?
Sack squats, you know,
With the berry.
with the berry. So like when you squat, you continue to keep your back straight. So think of the same thing. You can get down real low and you can do the kicks, you can do all the stuff, but try your best to continue to keep your back straight. And again, what I do is I kind of keep my back a little bit back, a little bit more back, a little bit curved backwise to kind of keep it from constantly going forward. I also just think you look better doing that.
Yeah, I think so too. You'll like how you look on the camera more when you're straight.
You like
When
how
you're
you
back
look.
straight.
Yeah. So that, and also, yeah, you want to try to get one of those mouthpiece guards. I don't know if they're actually called patches. I can't remember if they're called.
I think everyone's also saying patch.
Patch. Okay.
Yeah, we'll roll with it.
So you keep the patch, and yeah, you're gonna have to like kind of cling on to it. And again, the thing I was saying about busking and practice performing applies to this situation so much. I've done a little bit of practicing and dancing, but I've done probably 10,000 hours of performing and dancing.
There we go. Yeah,
Honest,
that's really key for all of y'all.
yeah, and luckily I got to suck and no one was really there to see it, honestly, like except for all of New York City. But the good thing is like when I kind of sucked and I would mess up a lot, like sax would come out of my mouth, all this stuff would happen. But and people film those videos. They just didn't get popular. Like, so for every video that's popular of me playing the subway, there's probably 1,000 other ones that didn't become popular. So that's what I mean about this low pressure thing. You want to be in a scenario where it's like you don't feel pressure.
Yep.
Even though everybody feels pressure every time they play, kind of.
But get as much practice and performing time in as you can, especially after, well, right now you could do it through live videos, but after we can all go outside, then you really get your performance time in. By the way, we started a whole conversation in the chats about sumo squats. Somebody is like lifting a lot. Good for you. That's great. All right, let's move on, you guys. We're going to, again, we'll have time at the end to go 20 minutes at the end to do even more Q&A. Great questions. We're going to move on to long tones right now, and have your axes out because we want to get into this together. We got some specific exercises for you. But firstly, let's talk about how sometimes long tones can feel really boring. And I like to think about it as meditative time. And I brought my favorite blanket. So, I might even start my morning morning session by bringing in something that feels lovely. I'll be in my comfy clothes, and again, I turned off my phone and I'm ready to do long tones in kind of a meditative state, and something that for those of you who feel like long tones can be boring, first of all, I'm with you. It can feel really boring, but I would try to kind of reframe it to focus in on the calming sensation and really like focus in on your breathing. When you're doing really deep breathing, it should be actually very, very relaxing. So deep breathing, and you want to focus on your tone and your tuning. Have a tuner out. Actually, have a tuner out right now before we go through these exercises.
Yeah. Every time I do long tones, I basically continue to think about all these things we just talked about. The straight back, breathing from your diaphragm, filling your rib cage, all those things. You want to do that, and it's probably the most important time to do that because it's creating, like, it's all about tone. It's all about breathing. That's what this exercise is about. So, yeah, you want to keep everything aligned and just really,
yeah. And then remember that rib cage thing we were saying, like 2 feet on the ground and just breathe entirely, fill your rib cage in, and then focus in on your tone. So let's actually let's dive into some exercises right here. Everybody get your saxes out, and we're going to lead you through some of our favorite long tone exercises.
Okay.
You take it away, Maestro.
I will. Oh, thank you so much. I love that. Can people just call me Maestro now?
Maestro.
So Leo. Maestro Leo over here. Basically, I love this exercise. It's super important to me. I was first taught this exercise by Gary Smulyan, who
Shout
is
out to Gary Smulyan.
a beast,
Such a beast. Oh my gosh.
a monster. He's one of the best teachers I ever had. I only had him for 8 lessons, but they were very important to me.
He's a beast on the piano too.
Yeah. Oh, he has a photo. Do you know about his photographic memory and everything?
Didn't know. Not surprised though, but whoa.
Yo, he when he would play. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't play the Village Vanguard Big Band too often anymore.
Yeah.
But when he did, he memorized all the charts. He didn't have to read anything.
What?
He memorized
Oh
all
my
the,
gosh.
and you know, like Barry parts, like random harmonies and bass lines and all this sax solis.
Does anyone here have photographic memory like Barry? Like, oh, I just said Barry Smulyan, like Gary Smulyan. Oh, props if you do. Wow, that's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, go on.
So, anyways, he taught me this breath attack thing, and this is also another thing that's really important that I teach to everybody. It's not something you necessarily have to use, but it's really helped me a lot. And the first way to use it is with long tones.
Hey, here we go. Long tones.
So what you want to do is you want to start every note with a breath attack in this exercise. At this point, I start every note with a breath attack in general. But just to start off, you want to do it with this exercise. So what you're going to do is you're going to play high F. If you don't feel comfortable in high F, play middle F. You want to start with a breath attack, meaning no tongue. No tongue. Do not use that tongue at all.
And this is a great exercise for all levels, right? Beginners, intermediates, advanced.
I give it to people that started playing saxophone 2 weeks ago, which actually I had a Skype lesson of a guy who started playing saxophone 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
So I know this from real life
all
application.
Levels. Yes, this
all
stuff
levels
is for everybody. Yeah.
So you start off again, high F or middle F. You start the note from absolute nothing. You want to come from absolute nothing, and you start with the breath attack, and you start as soft as you can, and then you uniformly get as loud as you possibly can at the peak of your volume.
Sorry.
At the peak of your volume, you want to then switch to an E. Okay, when you switch to that E, slur if you can. If you can't, lightly tongue. As the exercise goes on, you will need to lightly tongue sometimes. Lightly tongue. Then you go the exact opposite direction. So it's like, and you want it to look like a perfect arc. Perfect. You want it to be perfect. Or not even an arc, angle, I should say. So everybody do that exercise with me. You're going to switch at maybe a different time because we have different air capacities. And I'm going to play slightly softer than I normally do because of the mic situation. But feel free to play as loud as you can when you get to the peak.
All right, do it with us.
Yeah, keep your back straight, keep your posture up, and then start the note with breath attack. The high F. And you see the way
I was doing that on mute, but I was doing it with you.
Oh, nice. And you see the way that like I'm like kind of out of air. Basically, that's how you want it to be. You want it to feel like you're swimming to the top of the pool because you went down too far. And I don't know if you had that experience. Maybe I had too many traumatic pool experiences.
Oh yeah, almost drowned. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you feel me on that? Like,
yeah.
So you want to pretend like you really are trying to get back up from the top of the pool, or from the bottom of the pool, and then you go. So I just did F to E flat, F to D, F to C sharp, F to C, F to B, F to B flat. Blah, blah, blah. So you go all the way chromatically, and if you're a Barry person that has a low A, you want to eventually do this. Sorry. And as you can see, I had to, or as you can hear, I had to lightly tongue because you can't really slur an F to an A. So as it gets lower, it's going to get harder. That being said, you don't have to do an F. You can do any note. You want to go from every note to every note eventually. I just always go from F all the way down. The harder version, starting from the bottom, going up.
Mm-hmm.
And the lower you get, the shorter it's going to be because low notes take more air.
Yeah. I'll also say, I'm going to jump in here to say that if you're feeling really lightheaded by doing all this stuff, take a break. We don't want anybody passing out. And if you're really new, I would say, practice long tones just for like maybe a few minutes. Again, it's that consistent thing of every day, but you'll build up to it. You definitely shouldn't be doing a ton of long tones your first day, got to build up the stamina, like when you're in the gym lifting weights. So I'm going to now bring you guys through another long tone exercise. Is get the axes out. We're going to work on bending notes. So this is great for the embouchure, and it's great for long tones. So I want you to start on your G. Remember, we have all different saxes right now. So if my pitch is different than yours, it's because we got Barry, alto, tenor, everyone in the house. But I'm going to start on my alto G, a concert B flat. What I'm going to do is play the note G, and then I'm going to continue to hold the note G, but I'm going to bend down to an F sharp using my embouchure. Now, I'm really utilizing the word, I'm thinking about the word ooh. Do that with me, everyone. Ooh. Very nice, Leo. And what, what you'll notice when you do it again, notice how the roof of your mouth kind of raises, right? And there's suddenly more room in your throat and in your mouth. This is what I want you to pay attention to. So do it again, sing ooh, and focus it on your throat position and your inner mouth position. Here we go. Ooh. So that's what's happening. When I bend the note, I'm opening up my throat. So we're going to start on a alto G, and I want to just take you guys chromatically, G, G sharp, A, and we'll do a few bends together. Here we go. Next one. Next one. There's tiny movements happening in here. There's tiny movements, but for the most part, embouchure is staying pretty similar. Let's do one more together. So the more you practice this, the more flexibility you'll be able to have. I can probably bend down even more at this point, End up. But first, just try to do that half step and then go all the way up. Once you get to the high palm keys, the D, it's going to get harder, but it's still doable. I'll show you,
Nice.
Oh, I'm sorry. It gets easier. I'm sorry. It gets easier as you go up. It gets harder when you go down. So if I played it on a low D, it gets a lot harder. And that's where I'd say maybe you're moving, again, very subtle movements, moving your jaw a little bit. But try it from the G and just go up chromatically. And that'll be a great.
Do it like really low on Barry.
Yeah, try it. Yeah, there you go. So you can do this on your whole range, you guys. Let's take some questions about what we were just talking about. These are our long tone exercises that we've gone through with you guys. All right, so here we go. This is from Matt Farr. When I try to start a long tone with just air, I always seem to jump the octave before hitting the lower notes. Any tips with fixing that? I think you need more air, because if you're going into it, Matt, and you start, I'm going to try to replicate what's happening to you. Is that what's happening, right? Like a, let me know in the comments if that's what's happening. But if it is,
I'm gonna pee really fast.
Go for it. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're building in bathroom breaks. By the way, if you guys and gals need to pee as well, do it in your own pace. We'll be here. So what I'm doing is I need to go in. First of all, you need to go in thinking about the lower pitch, right? That'll help, because when you sing a lower pitch, you're setting up your throat position for that. Very key. And then you need to just add a little bit more air into it. But definitely try that out of thinking about a lower pitch if your tendency is to hit a higher octave. That's a great question. Let's take some other questions. This is a great one, Megan. Definitely not a dumb question at all. Megan's asking, when practicing these techniques or playing in general, how do you guys strengthen your mouth / prevent from hurting? Sorry if this is a dumb question. Great question. You're going to have to build up your embouchure. And that's why I say if anything hurts, like take a break. These muscles need to build up. Leo, Megan's asking, how do you strengthen your mouth and prevent it from hurting when we're practicing these long tones? I was saying it just takes time for these muscles to build up.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's not something I really specifically thought about, but I know that my mouth has gotten a lot stronger. So I think just doing it, building up to it, doing it a little bit every day. It's really the consistency that is important for all of this stuff.
A little bit every day, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Um,
I think I've always said I think how good you are is a combination of one part of how much you've practiced and one part of how often you've been practicing.
yes.
That's how I've always felt. Like, again, when we talk about this, like, oh, sometimes you need a day or you need a week or whatever. There's been some times when I've taken off like a month. And it's been a while, but like when I got my wisdom teeth taken out, that's an example. But like, man, it was rough getting.
Oh my God, you're bringing me back to braces days. That was awful. Every time I get tightened, I couldn't practice. It was like eating blended food. And this is a good question. Jared's saying, how do you develop a good tone? Do I just need to keep doing long tones and wait it out, or should I do a certain exercise? Long tones are definitely going to help you. It's probably the number one thing that's going to help you really get learn what your embouchure needs to be. And I'll just say about setup, which we'll kind of go over briefly a little bit later. But oh my gosh, why don't we just go over that now, Leo? Because I think we're going to go over that in fundamentals. So I'm playing a Van Doren A8 S Plus mouthpiece. It's a rubber mouthpiece. It works really well for me, but I actually started off on the Yamaha, I think it's called the 4C mouthpiece. I played that for like the first year when I got my Yamaha intermediate horn, and it played great. The most important thing about mouthpiece and reeds, you guys, is that you're not fighting against it. So as long as you're getting a clean sound out and no veins are popping out, then I would say stick with that mouthpiece. And then, once you really know what your sound is, which so much of your sound comes up from here, right? If I was playing a completely different saxophone and a completely different mouthpiece, I still can make it sound like me because the sound's coming from here. So you want to be able to find a mouthpiece and a reed and equipment that matches the tone that's coming up from here. Do you want a bright sound? Do you want a dark sound? I like leaning more on the dark side. Grew up listening to Stan Getz, loved his sound, wanted to replicate it. Added a lot of subtone into my playing. So remember that, a lot of people get super heady, but start with something that's playing well. And then later, you can start to experiment. I'm playing the MO ligature, the Java green box 2.5 reeds, the Van Doren green box. And I like them. They play right out of the box. Again, this is the equipment that works for me. Is it going to work for you? I don't know. You'd have to try it out. I think I've tried about every type of reed on this planet. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think as far as, I also just wanted to answer that question and tell my setup. Well, first of all, my setup is Theowani mouthpieces. Yo, Theowani is my dog. Okay. Let me just say that it's what it is.
Woof.
I'm obsessed with these mouthpieces. And Theowani it's like not a big corporation. It's like Theo, 2 people that make the mouthpiece, and one guy, Brian Vance. Shout out to Brian Vance, who is in charge of like artist relations. So it's a very like small organization, which is really cool because the way he treats me is like family.
I love that. Yeah.
So, and also I would say this about the mouthpiece, regardless of if he wasn't like the coolest dude I ever met, but he also happens to be the coolest dude I ever met. Theowani mouthpiece, Van Doren 2.5 reeds. Van Doren's been pretty chill with me. All right. Shout out to Martine.
Yes.
And
Van Doren fam.
Yamaha YBS50. Oh, we're not talking about the
Oh
saxophone.
my God, I forgot about that. No, we
Yeah.
do.
Oh, we
Oh my
are.
God, I
We
forgot
are.
about the main thing. We're both Yamaha artists, which I
Yeah.
think they're, again, small family, great instruments. But anyways, go
Yeah.
on. Yes,
Uh,
tell us the main thing.
yeah. I use the YBS 52. Now, see, this is slightly controversial, or whatever you want to call it. But the 62 is supposed to be the better one.
I have the 62 at home, but I haven't
Yeah.
played the 52.
Yeah, the 62 is the professional model, and the 52 is the intermediate model. Now, there is one difference that makes me super upset. Is that chromatic high F sharp. I'm like really upset that it's not on the 52. Which
Mm.
is like annoying, but also that's the only thing that I find superior about 62. 62 is a little bit heavier, and it just doesn't feel as comfortable on my fingers. So
Yep.
this is an example of how one mouthpiece or one saxophone or one type of reed might not work for you that worked for somebody else. Like, I know a lot of people that use Rico, and like Rico is a lot cheaper than Van Doren and not usually respected as being as good of a reed, but I know some beasts that can play some crazy stuff on Rico. So
You
it
really
really
got to
is,
try it out for yourself.
yeah, it really is a personal thing. Try to find a scenario where you can try out different stuff.
Yeah.
Use your idols as a directional, a direction to go in, being like, okay, well, I want to try what Grace uses. I want to try what Leo uses. And then I can decide for myself. It's a good tool. And then if you become awesome enough on sax and a lot of people, love your playing, then you start getting free stuff. And that's when it's the best.
Yeah.
You
By the
just
way,
try
I
out free
just
stuff.
I love how in the chat y'all are talking to each other and even answering some of the questions. This is awesome. Keep it going because
Yeah.
people are directing them to websites and saying they also play same mouthpieces and reeds. So I love this. We got a saxy community here. This is super dope. Okay, so we covered setup.
Can I say one more
Yeah, yeah,
thing?
go
Sorry.
for it.
Just
Yeah.
to answer that question, when you were saying how do I get a better tone,
Oh yes, go back to the question.
transcribing and listening to people
Listening.
actually is like really important. It's something I forget about a
Oh
lot.
my God, so important.
You naturally, people will just say like, oh, you kind of sound like blank. Half the time or more, it's like the person you've listened to the most. So a lot of times doing that will give you a better tone by just listening.
I think if there's
You mimic,
anything you guys could take away from this, that's probably the most important
Yeah,
thing. It's really
that's the
the
most
elephant in
important
the
thing.
room. We also sent you a playlist of some of our favorite players who are integrating awesome articulation and tones in the confirmation email. If you did not get that, do send us an email or DM us because y'all should have gotten that playlist link in your email. And so take a listen to that. There's a lot of great jazz players, pop players, all sorts of different sounds. And yeah, that's like the sounds up here. So first you got to get it in your ear and then you got to get it here. Let's move on to tonguing. Woo! All right. So, so tonguing and articulation are very important because it is like having the musical punctuation to your phrases. See what I did there?
Yeah, I did see what you did.
Otherwise, it's just going to be this monotonous thing and go on and go on. And you're not going to be able to accentuate certain parts of your musical phrases. So that's
So
important.
yeah, tonguing to me is like I just think it's fun. I just love tonguing, and I love having a really interesting palette when it comes to articulating. If you slur everything, it gets boring. A lot of times when people ask me what notes should I be playing when I improvise, I'm like, why aren't you asking about what rhythms and what articulations? That's just as important as the note selection, if not more. A lot of times when I hear a solo, I'm like, yeah, like I posted me playing this solo from Clarence Clemens,
I saw that
amazing
one.
rock
Yeah.
tenor player on Born to Run, one of the most classic Bruce Springsteen records of all time. This guy's killing it. And I transcribed it that day, and I never had done it before. He literally never goes out of the pentatonic scale, major pentatonic scale. There's one time when he goes ba ba da da, that's like kind of a minor third, but it's still pretty close. Like, and just like ba da da ba da da, and it's really his articulation and the way he tongue da 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 da. It's
And its
really that's
sound too,
yeah.
man. Oof.
It's like that's what really makes obviously his sound is like stupid. Like
Yeah.
I want to know what he's doing or he did. I mean,
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Peace.
but yeah, so tongue to me is really important. It's used a lot in like funk music and pop music for like horn lines. The times I've had the most issue is like someone's like, "Oh, hey, can you learn this horn line from Earth and Wind and Fire song or a Chicago song?"
We
Something
put
that,
some of them on the
yeah,
playlist, by the way. Yeah.
yeah, something that like like a pop sax line, da 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 da, like that the September for
Oh
Earth
my
Wind and Fire,
gosh, that's
da
on
da
the
da da da
playlist.
da 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 da
So
da.
clean the way they play it.
Yeah. So like that happens a lot. Grace knows a little bit more about bebop. You were saying in bebop you think it's really
Definitely,
important
there's
to
a lot
tongue.
of tonguing happening in bebop too. Again, it's just accentuating the phrases, so it's all over.
Yeah. Um and also like in fusion, if you want to like look at one of the tunes I posted in the playlist, Delta City Blues.
Oh my God, y'all gotta check that out immediately after this workshop. Because talk about, I was listening to
Yeah.
that like on repeat before this. It's so
Oh,
dope.
and he's using
Wrecker.
overtones for all the jumps too.
That
So
song probably just like sums up what this whole workshop's about between his overtones and articulation and tone and sound. And
yeah, I
Michael
mean,
Wrecker, rip.
it's also a great record because it's like grooving and happening, but there's crazy harmony too, which it's like he's one of the few people that can play all these crazy 12 tone rows things, and I still think it's really musical. That's usually not my musical taste. Uh, so
Totally.
yeah, tongue is really helpful.
So important. So I'm going to lead you through a basic exercise for those of you who are still getting the coordination of your tongue, because that's the first thing. Like it's a muscle and it's not really like used to being it's not used to doing any type of exercises. At least my tongue wasn't when I first started tonguing. And I remember I was a bit frustrated when I was first learning to tongue because I was asking all my teachers how they do it, and nobody could really tell me. And I remember asking so many different people, and nobody was really telling me the mechanics. And so I really had to find my own way of tonguing. And remember, we're giving you our thoughts and exercises, but if you find a different way and it sounds like tonguing, like awesome, that's great. So whatever helps in getting you there. So what I want you guys to do, again, have your axes out, but first we're just going to go through some syllable stuff. I want you to say ah, ah. Now I want you to say now I
Sorry.
want you to say like n n.
Mm,
Right.
mm.
So that is the most passionate I've ever heard. So now we're gonna do nan. Try it.
Nan 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 nan
If somebody enters right in this moment, that's gonna be
nan
hysterical.
nan
And
nan.
so what you'll notice, you guys, is when you do your tongue flips up, right, and hits the roof of your mouth, right? Nan. So I'm gonna give you an exercise that's gonna help with that, developing that muscle in your tongue. It's a muting exercise, and I'm going to do exactly that, playing a G. So go ahead and play your G, and just try. I'm using only the tip of the reed and tip of my tongue, or maybe a little bit further back, and I'm going to just do an nan. Let's come like this. Now, at first, it was not coordinated. It was going like this. And that's what I'm saying. Your tongue, it needs to learn how to actually hit the reed up and down. So if you're literally getting tongue tied in the beginning, know
Tongue
that
tied.
I have been there, and this will come with time, right? And this stuff does not you will not get the tonguing thing or the overtone thing from in the next 2 hours, but you got to keep practicing it. So that's a good thing of just use that to work on your tongue muscles, and practice it with a metronome. If you start to you're getting it, then I'd say bump up the metronome and start to do it faster. Start to hold the mute longer. You really can train your tongue, and only go faster once you're nailing it slow. I'm going to say that again. Only go faster once you're nailing it slow. To work the metronome, be really diligent about getting it clean and getting it slow first.
That's great advice for life.
Yes.
Yeah, like every
For
time,
everything.
but especially with saxophone practice, don't move on until you got it at the tempo that you're going in.
Yep.
You
Totally.
don't want to get ahead of yourself. I
Yeah.
hear that. I hear that with a lot of beginning students.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to get to all the fancy stuff, but like know that what we're teaching you right now, these fundamentals, these long tones, articulation, it's going to make it so that when you do play the fancy stuff, you're solid on your foundation. If you try to play Altissimo as a beginner, you don't have any idea what's going on in your throat and your positioning. It's like you're not going to know how to replicate that, even if you get it like once, you know. So really focus in on these core elements. Do you want to bring them through some of the tonguing exercises?
Yes, I absolutely
Yes.
do. Because I'm excited about
I'm so excited.
tonguing. I'm so excited right now,
So
guys.
excited.
Ah! All right. So first of all, you want to put sunglasses on. All right.
Oh my God.
That's the first important part.
This is what makes you tongue better, you guys. Let's
Yeah,
go.
and you got to get really big sunglasses. It's actually the most important part.
Oh my God. Muse is very interested. All right.
Yeah.
Here we
Okay. Thank you, Muse. I appreciate you. So, okay. So what we're gonna do here
They're
is
saying it's ski goggles. Is that true?
no, they're sunglasses.
Those are sunglasses. Those are the biggest sunglasses I've ever seen. I love it. Okay.
Like,
anyways,
ooh,
do go
hello.
on. Do go on.
So, anyways, what you want to do is remember that breath attack thing I was talking about? Well, since I loved it so much, I decided to continue using that breath attack, and I always breath attack when I start a row of notes. So anytime I'm like, every time I start, I'm like, dot, and I'm just using the tongue to stop the reed near the top in between the notes. And that especially helps me tongue, especially the low notes. That breath attack really helps. So what I do to get into starting this breath attack thing is I will play 5 to 6 medium longish notes. I would call these semi-long tones. And it's really simple. You start every note with a breath attack, and you do about, let's do for right now, we'll do 5 per note, and you just go chromatically up. So we're just going to do D, D sharp, E, and F, okay? So everybody get your horns. All right. Remember everything we told you about keep your back straight, 2 feet in the ground? All right, let's do this thing. Starting on D. And then, you keep on going up. You want to hit every note. So I just say chromatic. You don't have to do a chromatic. You can do major scales or whatever you want. But honestly, over time, it might seem like a silly exercise and it might seem easy. But to really get the note to speak, if you haven't done a breath attack too often, it takes a little bit of dedication to doing that all the time. My next tongue exercise, which is one and I've made up these exercises, even though that one was like pretty simple. This one I'm much more proud of because it has really changed the way I play. I call it the anchor note exercise.
Love that title.
Thank you so much. So a lot of times when I'd hear like rock sax players, funk sax players, some of my favorite saxophone players, they would do this da 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 da. They use this anchor note to enable their tongue to play faster than they normally could. So basically, like, here's an example. Something like that.
Clean. Yes.
Yeah, right? And so it's slur tongue 3. What you want to do is I do it chromatically. So you go D sharp, D sharp, D sharp, D sharp, D sharp, E, F, 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 F sharp, F sharp, F sharp, F sharp, G, G, G. So it's like, so let's just go up to G sharp together.
You know what? Actually, why don't we bring someone on?
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yes.
Are you down to walk someone through it?
Yeah,
Real time?
absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
right, great. So if you would like to come on the screen with us, please raise your hand via Zoom. It's so wild to say, oh my God, a lot of hands went up. All right, and we're gonna bring you, and have your sax ready. We're gonna bring you onto the screen. First person to raise his hand, Charlie Solazzo. We're gonna bring Charlie on. He was on it. He raised the hand.
Hey.
All right, so we're bringing Charlie on as a. Let's see if he's what up, oh my God, he's got his sunglasses.
Oh, he did it. He did it.
Ah!
Well, already you have a huge advantage when it comes to tonguing.
Rocking it.
So yeah, so basically what you're gonna do is D sharp, D sharp, D sharp, D sharp, D sharp, E, and you're slurring into it like.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So wait, so if I did the first one slowly, so it's like that?
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah, yes,
That
like that.
good.
Yeah.
And then how would I do the second one?
And then the second one, so you're just gonna keep doing that, but then now D sharp to E. So it's like.
Okay. I gotta go a
Nice.
little slower for that.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to start it slow, that's much better.
Music to my ears.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad, I messed up. Okay.
No. Feel free. Go for it. Try it out slow.
Yeah, you're rocking it.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Where should I go up to? That's good.
That's good. I mean, a lot of times when I do it, I'll go up to D and then back down. But you could do whatever you want.
Okay.
I mean, that's great. That's a great example.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man.
absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate
All
that.
right. Yeah, give it up for Charlie, you guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Charlie.
You're welcome.
And you got the sunglasses.
Oh
So-
my God.
What did I do?
So you want to do that slow and with a metronome, and then eventually you could be like.
That's where it's going, you guys.
Using that anchor. So the thing is, like, there's no way I could tongue all that. Like if I was like I can't, I just get tongue tied. And then you don't have to do it chromatic. You could do, say you're working on your D major triad. You could be like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so rocking. Let's take them through the last few bits, and then I know we got a lot of questions, so we'll try to get to a few of those.
And yes, that is all single tonguing to the person that just asked.
Yep. And you got something, is there a third to the
Yes. Okay.
exercises?
And the third one is tongue everything. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Tongue everything.
Yes, but the first note, breath attack, yes. Okay, let me just explain. I start every single phrase of every single thing I ever play with a breath attack. I'm not necessarily suggesting that everyone does that, because I'm pretty sure I'm like the only person that does that. So I'm not saying you have to do that. It's just a suggestion. It's something to possibly do.
That was a surprise to me, I gotta be honest, because I usually I do the opposite. I tongue when I start the notes, and I think that was a total surprise when you first told me that.
Yeah, this is something I stumbled upon. It was just a long tone exercise that I'd gotten so used to. I loved the control I had with starting the notes, and it freed up my tongue. It gave my tongue the chance to jump on the next few notes. If you're starting with your tongue, then you don't have that. It's like you got to jump on it.
Right.
So, whatever. That really helps me. I'm not saying everyone should necessarily do that, but it's cool.
Yeah.
If you want to practice this breath attack thing and the tongue thing, take a passage that you have that's maybe a little more difficult or has some more notes and tongue everything. If you got exercises for a different teacher, you have an improv teacher who's teaching you scales, just, every once in a while, tongue everything in the passage. If you're practicing a classical etude, just be like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about whatever articulations are written here. I'm going to tongue everything. So an example of that is we can play first few measures of my solo in Moanin' from BBC Proms. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that one.
Dope.
So that solo starts, right? So say I'm transcribing some Leo P and I'm working on it. Maybe I want to switch it up and tongue that. It's just a good way to, I don't know, get more tonguing in. You want to try to get that tongue exercise in. You're going to make your tongue stronger, and you're going to be able to tongue more, faster.
It is a
often.
muscle. It definitely is a muscle. Yeah. So hopefully those techniques will help you guys. Let's just take there's so many questions coming in. Really great stuff. Let's take a few. And I hope you guys don't mind. We're going to, because we've been answering questions as we go along, might have a little bit less time at the end for Q&A, but we want to kind of go through these techniques thoroughly with you. So let's answer Charlie's, because you had him on live and he's got another question. Where should I put my tongue when I do a breath attack? Is it relaxed?
Yeah, it's relaxed for me.
Yeah.
That's where it was when I just did it.
Yeah.
Try not to think about it too much, but yeah.
There's like 5 questions coming in about double tonguing. So here's one from Denise. Leo, in some of your solos on YouTube that I've seen, specifically when you're tonguing really fast, are you double tonguing or not?
Never. I don't know how to double tongue. And also, I just want to say I have tried to double tongue, and I know people that can double tongue.
I don't know how to double tongue.
And it's really impressive. I'm trying to find a way to not be insulting to people that are good at it, because it's awesome.
How do you do it? I don't even know how you do it.
It's a different, you're saying like digga 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 digga. I think it's like, I think you're like saying a different syllable or something. Okay. Taka taka taka. So whatever the person, taka, I don't know. But it's cool. The thing is, I truly believe that you can't control it as well. Like, I've never seen someone double tongue hitting all different notes. I've only seen like really good double tonguing on like the same note. Like, I've never seen someone go like,
yeah.
I don't think you can control double tonguing as well as you can control single tonguing personally.
There you go.
Mean, I would love to be proven wrong if you guys want to prove me right.
Yeah, send us, DM us and tag us if you're nailing your double tonguing. We want to know, and you should host the next workshop. Really quickly, Jennifer's asking, Grace, where is your tongue touching when you say nah? So she's going back to that basic exercise. Nah. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to go through that. Very important. Super tip of my tongue, tip of the reed. Yep. That was helpful. You guys, we're going to move on. We're packing in so much here, and we want to keep going. A lot of you have been asking about overtones and altissimo. So we're going to talk about that next. So just very briefly, for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, what are overtones? So overtones occur on any instrument, and it's a combination of notes that when you play your note, you're hearing a lot of different frequencies and overtones that are happening above that note. Some are really, really high pitched that we can't even hear and that like dogs can hear. But basically, they're the extra notes that you're hearing on top. And every instrument has its own series of overtones. We're going to go over the saxophone one, so that's probably different than the clarinet one. But there's a different overtone and harmonic series on guitar, on piano, on sax, on trumpet. And it's those overtones that make a clarinet sound like a clarinet, a sax sound like a sax. So overtones are probably one of the most helpful things that you can do along with long tones to really create a great sound and to develop your tone. So that's why I would say it's important to get into them. for beginners and for advanced players to keep practicing your overtones. It's really, the other thing is it really helps you solidify your embouchure and your throat positioning, which brings me to, it is 100%, in my opinion, all about your throat position. That is how you are going to be able to nail your overtones. So I want you to really get to know, this is probably something that maybe some of you don't know about, but we're going to get to know our throat anatomy. And throughout this exercise that I'm going to lead you guys, I need you to keep taking mental snapshots of how your throat feels, of how your embouchure feels. I'll just say that as kind of for all of the exercises we're about to go to, my jaw and embouchure move very, very, very little. So really you should be keeping a very similar embouchure, and everything else is happening inside my throat and inside the roof of my mouth. So really quickly, I want to just show you guys a picture of the anatomy of the mouth that I found. And we'll also include this in the PDFs that you'll get tomorrow. So let me know if can you see this? I think you can all see this.
Yeah, wow.
All right, so check it out. So, you get your nasal cavity. What I want to talk about is, this is your hard palate right here. That's the roof of your mouth. Do you remember how we were when we were doing that exercise, you could also think of it like a half yawn. That's what's going up. And this is what we want to focus on right here. This is called your larynx, also known as your voice box. And so that is what you're manipulating when you're doing overtones. You're not manipulating your jaw. It's everything that's happening here. So firstly, your shoulders, again, got that straight back, but this should all stay very relaxed. There's no need to contort your jaw or get super tense with it. For the people who are new to this, do not practice this exercise longer than like 5 minutes a day, really. And
Agreed.
If you start to feel pain, stop. This should not be painful. You might start to feel a little fatigued in the beginning, which is why I say don't practice it longer than 5 minutes. For people who are more advanced and you're similar to growling, once you get it, then you know how to do it correctly. And then you could practice it for a little longer, but still I'd say maybe 5 to 10 minutes a day just as a warm up. Now do hit it every single day. That's going to be what one day your overtones are going to pop off. I was just teaching one of my students and he was like, I've been practicing overtones for 2 weeks. I'm still not getting it. Like, it's something wrong. I'm like, 2 weeks? That's nothing. This could take weeks or months to get. So the other thing is just be really patient with yourself. Everyone's going to have slightly, different timeline. It might pop off for you right away. You might be able to get a certain overtone and not others. So just keep at it. And so I'm going to show you another picture right now, you guys. And if you, I would recommend taking a screenshot of this because we're going to go over it in a minute. And again, it will be in the PDF that we're going to send you tomorrow, but take a screenshot right now. So this is the overtone series that we're going to go through. B flat, this is your low B flat fingering. And then you're going to go up the octave and then up a fifth. This stuff I can't even play. But I know that it's part of the saxophone overtone. But we're going to kind of go over this stuff. So take a screenshot right now if you haven't.
And if you want to transpose down a half step, you could go to A.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah. For A Barry players.
For A Barry players, totally. Yeah. So and we're going to go through some of the exercises. For the basic exercise, I actually would like to get somebody on to go through this with me, and you could be somebody who's played overtones before, or you could be new to it. So raise your hand if you'd like to come in. I'd like to bring on an alto player, just so it kind of sounds similar, but okay. Wow, a lot of hands went up. Okay, so let's bring Victoria on to demonstrate to go through this with me. That's Victoria's entrance music. All right, we're gonna bring her on. Hey, Victoria. What is up? How you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Are you?
Where are you calling from?
From the UK.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. All right. So what is your overtone experience?
Literally nothing.
Great.
Never been taught
Fantastic.
before.
Okay. So we're going to go through a basic exercise. I'm going to lead you through it. So first I'll explain it to you and everyone else. We're going to start. Are you playing alto?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to start with playing a D with your octave key. And then what we're going to do is you're going to keep the sound going, but you're going to let go of the octave key, but try to keep the same pitch. And then I want you to drop down to the lower octave. So it's going to sound like this. This is the beginning of overtones. Can you do that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so did you say start on the B with the octave key?
Start on the D, like dog, with the octave key, then let go of the octave key, but keep that tone going, and then drop down to the lower octave. That's it. Now go.
Nice.
That was great. Oh my gosh. So this is the beginning of developing your throat position. I want you to just go up chromatically from there, go up to like an F, so E flat, E F, and really take note of what is going on in your throat as you do it. So go ahead and try that.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, rocking it. So for all of you, this is something that just like Victoria did, you would do you could do this all over the horn. You can actually even do it way up there on the palm keys. It does get harder. And I would also say to all of you, have a tuner out, because this is a great thing you can simultaneously do. But once you get to the palm keys, they're gonna want to drop faster. It is doable, but it gets a little harder. It gets harder to hold the high notes, but thank you so much for that. So this is the beginning of overtones. Thank you for walking us through that. So that
was great.
Do you have any questions about that? That's how you would kind of go about it chromatically.
No, I think it kind of makes sense so far. So you just keep like practicing taking on and off the octave.
Yes.
And then does it just kind of like happen naturally?
Exactly what you were doing is the first step to the overtone series, and then we'll go through. We'll continue on from here. But that was rocking. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Okay. So that was rocking. Thank you, Victoria. So this is the beginning of it, and then I have another exercise which is called play and sing. Like I was saying, it's all about the throat position, you guys. So this is kind of once you have done all of that. Right? Wow, my reed just got so dry. So the play and sing is first you're going to play the actual note. So on alto and tenor, the lowest note is a B flat. For Barry, you'd play a low A. Say that with your regular fingering. And then you're going to sing the first overtone, which if you took a snapshot, take that snapshot out. First overtone is 1 octave up, and I do recommend going in order. So here we go. We're going to first play the low B flat, and then we're going to take a pause, and then we're going to sing an octave up. And then while you're singing, make note of what your throat feels like. What does the top of your roof of your mouth feel like? And then go straight into playing. So here's an example. I would use ah. So when you go in for that first overtone, still playing the low B flat fingering, but with no octave key. And then I would do it for the next overtone. Sorry. Oh, that one's high. Maybe you can't sing it. Anyways, we're going to try to get to the throat position. So whole overtone series would sound like.
Whoa. That's impressive.
So, I mean, they don't come out perfectly every time, but that's going, as high as I can get. I do that singing exercise for every overtone, really trying to get into that. And then I'm briefly going to go over an overtone exercise for people who are more familiar and doing advanced stuff with the overtones, which is called the A-B test exercise. This is where you can really fatten up your sound using overtones. And when you play an overtone, you'll notice that it's got just more oomph to it. So once you are able to just pop them out, then I'd start to A-B the overtone sound with the actual fingering and try to get the actual fingering closer to the overtone sound. So here's an example of the first overtone. Hear how fat that is? It's like big and fat. Again, playing a low B flat fingering, no octave key. This is the very first overtone, an octave up. Now I'm going to compare it with an actual B flat fingering. You hear how that B flat is just not as fat? It's just,
Yeah.
And so then that's where I'm going to start to A, B the sound. And as I play the actual fingering, I'm trying to get as thick fat as overtone. You can do this throughout the whole series. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Everything to do with throat. So actually in the PDF that we're going to send you tomorrow, which has a lot of mentions of these notes, it also has some journaling questions. So when you're working on your overtones, you can write down, oh, when I did hit that high B flat, this is how my mouth felt. This is how my throat felt. And then you'll be able to replicate it faster and start to be able to hit them on a regular basis. Again, the stuff takes time. Now it's at a place where if I was going to play, say I'm ending a phrase and I want to hit a really high note, which by the way, this might be a little bit loud, so turn this down. If I'm just warning you now, it might get a little twitchy. If I wanted to play a high F at the end, which is actually way up in Altissimo land, and by the way, everything I just said for overtones, you guys, is exactly what it takes to get Altissimo. We're also going to include some Altissimo fingerings in the PDFs. Yes, there are specific fingerings, but you can get into Altissimo land with just overtones. I'll give you an example. I'm going to end this phrase and play a high F using Altissimo fingering. It's loud, right? That's way up there.
Oh.
So that on alto is actually the Altissimo fingering is having all the palm keys down and the octave key. And I'm playing this high, I'm hitting this high one.
Sorry,
this is the overtone my family dog hates. He thinks I'm in trouble. But I want to show you that I can get that same high F, but with just overtones. So I'm going to do it this time again, but I'm going to play the B flat with no octave key and get the same high F to prove a point of Altissimo. Once you've mastered your overtones, you can get Altissimo, but you got to start with overtones. So here's the same thing using overtones. That is with the low B flat. And I remember having a conversation with great David Sanborn, who's on our playlist. He's a dear friend and incredible saxophonist. He knows how to hit those high notes. He was saying when he's in Altissimo, he's not doing fingerings. It's all just like playing overtones. So, Leo, actually, can you talk about the places that you've taken the overtones and you do such cool sounds with
okay.
it.
So first, somebody asked if it's the same for Barry. Yeah, the overtone stuff is the same for Barry. I have to be honest, I have not worked on my overtones the same way Grace did. I think it's incredibly valuable, but I just didn't do it and didn't have the patience. So what actually happened to me is I was given similar exercises to the ones that Grace was teaching. And what would happen was I would try doing, I'd be like, doing that. And what happened was like over time, I started jamming like the thing I was saying in the beginning. So I'd be like, and I started hearing the fifth and root, and I was like, man, I could play the root and the fifth at the same time if you really blast it and do a crunchy thing. It becomes a multiphonic, which is playing two notes at once. That's a power chord. Like if you can hear both 1 and 5.
Oh, Leo, can you do that a little bit off the mic? Zoom is doing that thing where it's
sorry.
Yeah.
Is that good? No?
I think so.
Still?
It's like doing that. Zoom is made for talking, you guys, so we've noticed that it just doesn't like our instruments.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. So as you can hear, I'm like playing these overtones, what do you call it? Not overtones, multiphonics.
Multiphonics, yeah.
Because I wanted to play all the rules of the different instruments, while playing Barry. So I got the bass line. I got the melody line. I got the super high stuff. And I want to do chords like a guitar player. So a lot of times in rock, they do power chords. It's just two notes. It's not a real chord, by the way. I don't think that falls in the definition of a chord. But you can call it a power chord. So I can do it like this. You're like playing all the different things. So when I was a kid and I was like figuring this out, there's a song called Sandstorm that's like a techno song. And that was like one of the first songs I transcribed because they're using power chords. And that's like one of the first songs I learned. So like. So I started really messing with that. And a lot of times when I'm in too many zoos, I'll be just doing that. I'll be like.
That is so sick. You guys, that's where you can take, like, someone was asking a question of how do I use overtones like in performance? I mean, this is, you start to learn it and then you really can make your own with it. And also in that playlist, check out that Michael Brecker song where he literally is playing overtones.
Yeah, Delta City Blues.
It's sick, yeah.
So then because some people call us overtone gliss, which is fine. That's a cool thing to call it. So what happened was eventually, like, I couldn't really figure it out, but for some reason I could hit the super high notes when I would do that. Like I'm fingering a low A right now. Going up super high. So I would try doing this, and I started messing around with it, trying to figure it out, and I would try going straight from a low A up there. So I'd be like. And I started figuring that out. And then one day I was trying to transcribe this like dubstep thing, and it was like, and so I was like, well, what if I stayed in that middle area on the way up to the top? So that's kind of how I do that overtone gliss. So I can go all the way up and come all the way back down.
Oh. Yo.
It's all on one note.
That's so sick. Wait till you see the recording of this video, because in the middle of that, Zoom just went, but it actually sounded really cool. And then we heard you again.
Okay. Cool.
I'm going to just jump. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So anyways, I'm just showing you how I kind of hacked into playing different things based on these overtone exercises, and how you can get really creative with it. That's basically. I
love that. I just started wondering how my family dog would react to you as you played that. So I want to go into Altissimo with you guys, because it has everything. By the way, this is so cool. This is like where you can take overtones, right? Like we're showing you some traditional techniques for it, but like sky's the limit. And literally to be able to make your own sounds. I mean, that was so cool. So Altissimo does have some specific, and if you don't know what I'm talking about with Altissimo, and you're new to overtones, focus on overtones. Really master that first. You're going to need that before you get into altissimo. We are going to send you a PDF that has some great altissimo fingerings for alto, tenor. I'm trying to find a good one for Barry as well. But our friend Better Sax has a bunch of good resources for the actual fingering. So I'm not going to get into that right now because you can check that out in the PDF. But what I will say is altissimo is very similar to overtones. You've got to really focus in on your throat position. There's a lot of like openings happening, but I also have slightly more pressure on my jaw, and everything is very, I say slightly. It might jet out just a little bit, but I do try to keep a similar embouchure. Couple of exercises for you guys practicing altissimo. One is you want to practice that clean octave jump. Here is on my A with the octave key up to the altissimo A. And up chromatically. So really, like, first do that, even slow it down, do it without a metronome, and start to figure out where is my throat position when I go up the octave. And the times it does come out successfully, write a little note down, and that's how you're going to start to memorize how you can continually replicate it. And then I would say my other exercise with altissimo, which is how I got it into my playing, is you want to start, once that's more comfortable, you want to take it into thirds and really go all the way up with altissimo and then just integrate it into your lines, right? Because what does it mean if you can't, like, play with it? So here's an example of the scales. Right, so I would take it in thirds, you could do it in fourths. Wow, I haven't done that. See, I'm still coming up with exercises that are challenging me. And then that's really, once you get out with the metronome and start doing thirds and you're all the way there and learning, you know, how to get those fingerings in time, then you can start to integrate them into your line. There we go. That's actually a major 7 arpeggio. That's the other thing you can practice. You can do arpeggios with your altissimo. Here we go. It's just a major 7 arpeggio. So that's a little bit on the altissimo, but everything that you guys with overtones is going to be really helpful with getting into your altissimo. You guys, we got only we've cut down a bit on our Q&A time, but right now we're going to do an Ask Us Anything Q&A. So if you've got a question, and we got so many questions coming in, which is great because we're going to try to, you know, we always try to answer your DMs and your comments. This is really like a concentrated time that you can ask your questions. We're going to bring you on live. So if you have a question, do raise your hand right now and ask it to us. So we're going to bring Mohan on right now to ask. Mohan has a question. Da, 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 da. What's up, Mohan? How you doing?
Oh, I actually have the wrong name. Oh, that's my dad's name.
Oh, what's your name?
My name's Daniel.
Hey, Daniel.
Hey,
I had a little,
good to see you again, man. Good to see you.
What's your question? Thanks for joining us. What's your question?
So I was wondering how, I kind of asked this last time, but I'm still a little confused on how you do like that thing where you go, were you just showing us where you go like, no, like where you go from a low note to a really high note?
Wait, which?
Are you talking to me or Grace?
Yeah, to you.
Oh, the overtone gliss.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wish there was just some type of trick that I could just be like, oh, you just do this and you just get it right away. But I just, I'm changing my bottom lip a little bit. I'm moving it a little bit to kind of like ride the reed like a wave almost. And I'm just working with like overtones, like, so what I could recommend is just sit there and just play the A and try to get different tones with it. And like kind of like start the low A and then try to squeak like, and then you want to try to get in between basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa,
That's
that's really good.
go.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where's-
very nice.
Thanks for joining us, my friend. All right, so yeah, wow, it was a good go at it. We're gonna answer as we bring on the next person. Answer some of the other questions happening on chat. Leo, do you use an E flat berry?
Is there another type of berry?
It's like, is there another berry?
Yeah, but I would like to use a F berry.
Or maybe an H berry?
Oh.
Ooh. Matt, you got a question. Where is your tongue during overtones? So my tongue is, great question. I didn't go over that. Tongue is super relaxed, actually. Not really doing much. It's trying to make as much space. So it's laying low, trying to make as much space for the throat and the upper roof as possible. Let's bring someone else on. Who else wants to ask a question real time with us? Let's bring on Melissa. What's up, Melissa? When I play an Altissimo G, it always goes an octave higher. Whoa, what can I do to fix that? That's a question from Rena. I'm kind of perplexed by that because this never happened to me. I kind of have to see what you're physically doing to know what's happening there.
So like I might be able to shed a little bit of light on it. So whenever I play A, like that A right above there, I've used the same fingering for D. That's just always worked for me.
Yeah.
And for a while, every time I would try to play an A, I would get a D. Like, so I would just try to hear the note. A lot of it is just singing in your head like that. It's just like, so that's the D, but la 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 la.
See, there's the singing, you guys.
La la la. And it's like try to get the same octave. So I don't know. Singing just kind of helped me a little bit with it, trying to get the right. That was a terrible representation of me singing, but I don't know. That helps me a little bit. I don't know.
I dig it. What's up, Melissa? How you doing?
Hi, this is my mom's name.
Oh.
She had to pay for it, so there's a
What's
little
your name?
confusion. Bryce. My name's Bryce.
What's up, Bryce? Nice sunglasses.
Thanks.
Wow.
Those are so cool. What's your
I had
question?
a question because, like, throughout like my saxophone career, I started on alto, but like 2 years ago, I went to Barry.
Nice.
Growling has seemed like really interesting, but it also seems like really hard to do for me for some reason. So it's
Growling,
like,
yeah.
Is long tones like a good way to get to that point to growl, or how would you go about growling?
I would say that long tones are great for everything. So, you know, the more you know your throat and your positioning, the better. So yeah, it will help you get there, but then there's also specific technique for growling.
Yeah, I personally either the Cookie Monster or I don't know if you guys have ever seen this cartoon Fat Albert or have you ever heard of Fat Albert?
Yeah, I've heard it.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Or just YouTube Louis Armstrong.
Oh my gosh,
If
yes.
you haven't heard Louis Armstrong, I try to mimic those things and then through saxophone. So like, what a wonderful world.
See how that's all singing throat related, everybody? So that's, yeah. You gotta learn.
Like this. And when I was,
that's
like,
how I'm doing it too. I'm going,
Yeah.
I'm going more. Literally doing that while you do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I started it though.
Yeah, that's I was the same way. Like it didn't come right away. So just like work on that.
100%. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for thanks for joining us. You guys, such great questions. So we're gonna keep answering questions, but right now I'm going to launch a poll, and you'll see it at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And this would be super awesome if you could actually fill this out, even right now as we're doing Q&A, or right after Zoom links, it's going to send you a link to a SurveyMonkey poll, and this just helps us learn more about what you want to learn about, and we want to deliver some really valuable teaching stuff to you. So, okay, y'all are in it. Thank you so much that's really helpful for us, and thank you to all of you who completed the survey, the first workshop. Really, it was super helpful to read your honest opinions. All right, who wants to come on with us? Let's take oh, I love this. Let's see if this person is also their parent, but I love the name Clementine. Clementine's going to be joining us. But meanwhile, Kyle is saying, are you slurring or tonguing that altissimo octave jump? I was tonguing it. Yeah. Hey man,
Hi.
what's up?
What's up?
Hey.
It's my grandma's, but yeah.
I'm noticing a pattern. What's your question? Thanks for joining us.
Well, for Leo, where did you get your tenor to begin first?
Oh, I got that in I got it in London at sax.co.uk.
Oh, that's a good yeah.
Yeah.
They got a good website too.
Yeah, I know, Grace, it's hilarious because the name of their website is also the name of their store. Like, it's always been really confusing to me. I'm like, where are you going? Sax.co.uk, like a website? No, it's just that's also the name of the store.
Oh, interesting.
But I think that's kind of genius because then if you know the name of the store,
Mhm.
you know the name of the website.
Yeah.
So anyways, this store in London is the best sax shop I've ever been to. They have the most saxes. And that saxophone was basically it's one of 8 saxophones that exist. They discontinued doing it. It's I don't know how to pronounce the name. Is it Swarovski? Swarovski?
Oh, the crystals?
Gems? The crystals. What is it called?
I think. I don't know.
Swarovski?
Is what I say.
Swarovski?
Maybe that's wrong.
Anyways,
Yeah.
it's a collaboration between CE Winds, that's just C, E Winds, and Swarovski. It's a collaboration, but honestly, and I got in touch with the guy who designed it. As a design, it didn't work as something they could mass produce because it is just it was so difficult to make and so expensive. It didn't really work, and there's just not enough people willing to pay that much money for it. That being said, I did cut a deal with my boys at sax.co.uk. Shout out to Jamie, who works there, is the main person I've worked with there.
What up, Jamie?
They've been really cool. They let me borrow the contrabass sax. And in return, I've done some videos for them. And they gave me a huge discount on this horn. So it's a CE Winds saxophone. There's only 8 that exist, and each one of them looks a little different. There's an alto. This girl has it in LA, the smooth jazz player. And there's a tenor has gold keys instead of black keys. And what's his name has it? Saxophone beast. I can't remember his name.
It'll come.
Yeah. But there's a few other people that have them.
And then for reeds, what type of reeds do you use for tenor as well?
I use 2.5 Van Doren.
Okay.
Yeah, 2.5's like that's the jam.
I use the same setup for tenor and Barry for mouthpiece reed. Theowani, Durga.
Yeah, I got a Durga for Barry.
Oh, word.
Nice.
Word.
Cool, man. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Hope that's helpful. Yeah.
For sure.
Sorry we have to go so fast, you guys. We're just trying to pack in the questions, and thank you to all of you who've been voting in the poll. 65% of you already voted. Oh my God, awesome. This is a question from Jennifer's asking, speaking of embouchure, what tricks do you have for the low B flat speaking easily? So I would say for all the low notes on the alto, I'm actually relaxing my embouchure a little bit more. And I also saw a bunch of questions about what's the embouchure like when you're up in altissimo. It is a little bit more pinched. There's a little more pressure. It's all like, again, I'm not like massively moving my jaw, and I'm not really changing my position on the mouthpiece. I'm staying pretty, again, in the middle of that mouthpiece patch. But I am, loosening up on the low notes, really open up the throat. And then when I go super high, It is a little bit, you might see my jaw jet out just a tiny bit, and there's more pressure here. You have to think here, like the corner, if any of you play flute, it's kind of a similar sensation of pulsing these corners. And I would also say you got to add a lot more air and diaphragm support to get those low notes, along with more of a relaxed embouchure. Yeah, let's bring one more person on. I wonder if the next person's gonna say it's their aunt's account. Let's bring one more person on, and then maybe just answer a few more questions, and then we gotta peace out, you guys. But also, a couple other things. If you did not receive the playlist that we're talking about, please email workshop@weare2saxy.com. It was supposed to come in the confirmation email, but some of you signed up different ways using Venmo, et cetera, et cetera. So if you did not get it, definitely email us, workshop@weare2saxy.com. We'll send you that email. And before we answer more questions, just want to say again, mad love for all of you.
Mad love.
Mad love. This is so cool. So many of you are here and like interested in the stuff and want to learn. We're going to bring in, oh, did she not? Okay, she's not there. Michelle. We're bringing in Michelle to ask our last question of the day. And if Zoom lets us. Weird. Okay, weird. Going. Melissa. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, we already had you on. Sorry, let's bring one.
Yeah.
We're gonna boot you. I forgot that we had Steve. What's up, Steve? Let's bring Steve on. Steve Bishop. I like his name. That's a really cool name. This is very anticlimactic. Leo, do you see any of the questions you want to ask? As I'm still trying to get people on.
Oh, yeah, sure. Do you ever push yourself to work even though you have a mind block? I guess that was a old question. Sorry, I'm the wrong part. I mean, that's still a good question. Yeah, sometimes I do. My sax teacher always tells me to keep my tongue on the tip of the reed, but whenever I play lower notes, they sound muffled. What are your tips? I don't know. I guess just keep on trying what feels comfortable. Sometimes you need to do different techniques to work for your own particular mouth. Everybody's jaw and mouth are different. So you might want to try a few different techniques. How do you do circular breathing? I would take a lesson from either Mike Wilbur or Winsel McGowan of Moonhooch. They are beasts.
Beast.
I don't know how to circular breathe. Do you know how to circular breathe?
I don't know how to do that. I was at some point. One of my teachers was like, "I can show you how to do this with straw and milk," and I was like, ugh. So by the way, you guys, I can't figure out. I think Zoom might have just like crap. Oh, here's one. Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, did I just bring on like a bunch of people? Are you guys could ask your questions together? I didn't know we could do that. Hello. What's up?
Hey.
Yo. Hi. Oh my God. Oh, whoa.
What happened?
Oh, wow. I just like let in like 5 people and it wasn't doing it. And now everyone's on. So real quickly, ask your questions, you guys, before we wrap. Thanks for joining us.
I got a question on Altissimo notes.
Cool.
So for me on alto, my Altissimo notes come out like near perfect, like A, G, A, B, C, whatever. But on Barry, it's like a different story because sometimes I can get A, G's a little much, but then like the really high ones I can get really easy. Do you like have any?
Okay, I was talking about this to Grace the other day. The way I feel like, how people's like voice cracks, like go, like,
Yeah.
I feel like that middle part of Barry is the most difficult altissimo, because it's like before the voice crack. Like I feel like, I feel like that, like F sharp and.
Oh, Zoom's doing that thing, but yeah.
Okay.
I heard. Yeah.
But that's really easy for me. So what happened was for the longest time I could only do those really high notes, but I couldn't do the middle ones. And honestly, man, I just looked up the fingerings and tried a bunch of fingerings, kept on trying until I could figure it out. The one I use for G is 1 and 2 on the left hand and octave key in the B flat key. And I'll literally just be like until I get it. And if I can't get it, just play an octave down, be like. And so, I mean, honestly, I just kept on trying. I only started getting those notes like a year ago.
Okay, yeah.
But like, I know it's crazy. I know what you mean. Like, it's much higher to just be like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
that's
it's like crazy.
and I think it's just because it's like where the break is in the berry is really awkward. It's like the berry,
Yeah.
the berry's like going through puberty. It's like, oh, like, so honestly, man, you just find, I just Google search like fingering charts and just kept on trying until I got it. And it's like hard to believe because when you try, it's like, it seems like impossible to do. But
Yeah.
you just keep on trying to go up chromatically. Just and if it doesn't come out, like get that note in your head, now. And now I feel really comfortable. Like, you know what I mean?
We like taming the beast. You know?
Yeah. I switched mouthpieces not that long ago. I have a Durga 3, and I used to use this one. It's just like some Chinese metal mouthpiece, and I can get like 4 octaves of G out of this really easy. But once I switched, I kind of had to like start relearning it, you know?
Yeah, it can be that way sometimes. I feel that.
So
also,
you guys.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Real quick, I would recommend with some Altissimo stuff with the Durga. As you can see, I changed that ligature. I would suggest trying out different ligatures. I like this a lot, but I think it's a little too tight and constricts some of the Altissimo on Barry. It's just a theory, but I just got a random ligature, a random ligature.
Ant. You got a random ant, everybody.
I got a random ant to send me a ligature. Thanks to my aunt.
Thanks to the aunt who I'm using her Zoom actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
My Aunt Grace.
I'm on my own Zoom.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, cool.
So real quick, you guys. So usually we would conclude here. But Leo, do you have another minute to get everyone on the screen? Because I didn't realize that I just let in like a bunch. We have a nice.
Yeah. I have another minute.
So let's finish up these videos and so many great questions. But yeah, let's just hang for if you all have to piece. Remember, you're gonna get the recorded video tomorrow. But if you can hang with us, let's look at these questions. What's up, Brian? How you doing?
Oh, hey.
Hey. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, so I'm terrible at flutter tonguing, and I really do not know where to start or how to like practice it at all. People have been telling me like roll your R's like it's Spanish class. Like I can do that like without a ligature or whatever or a mouthpiece in my mouth, but when it comes to like putting it in my mouth and trying to play notes and all that stuff, I can't. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering like where to start with that.
I'm glad you brought that up because actually I did have a little note to go into flutter tonguing. Flutter tonguing is something that I just found out that my tongue could do one day. I was having like a classical sax lesson and I started doing that and my teacher was like, "What? That's not what I was mentioning." And I was like, I'm doing a la 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 la. So in like a la, 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 but everything just keep it really really light and it's all in the tip of your tongue and you're gonna hit the bottom and top part of the reed really at the tip. So I can't say enough how you just gotta keep it light. It would sound like. But it's just everything's on the tip. Try a little like I don't roll my R's. I'd keep it.
Oh, I see. Hold on.
There it is. Yeah, you're starting to get it. So I just say lighten up as much as possible. Again, just keep practicing at that. Your tongue is probably going to want to fight against you. It wants to be heavy, but just keep it. You just got to keep it moving. Literally, like, yeah. Yeah, but it sounds like you're.
Okay. Thank you.
You're on your way, man. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. What's up, Cole? How you
no
doing?
problem.
Hi. First of all, I just wanted to say thanks for like everything with just for having this for everybody. I think I've learned quite a bit already.
That's awesome.
Especially with Altissimo, I would like to learn on the Barry in particular, but with the alto, I feel like I have something going. My question was, like, do you have any like improv tips, like, scales or just patterns or anything?
Ooh, we got to do a full improv workshop next time. Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
Great question.
my favorite things to practice are the pentatonic scales, like going up, using 4 notes, starting in on every note. It's like. I always try to get people on the pentatonics or the blues scale if you just add the tritone to the pentatonics. Those are my 2 favorite things. But I mean, basically, there's so many different scales to use and options. But we'll definitely do more on improv.
Yeah, we'll probably. Would you guys be interested in an improv workshop? If so, comment in on the chat saying yes. We're seeing a lot of yeses. Oh my god, yeah, because it's hard to just. Oh my gosh, it's hard to sum it up in a couple.
You can't do a 15-minute section in improv.
But that's a great question, Cole. I'm glad also that you've been finding this super valuable. I'll say just really briefly about language with improv, pentatonics, blues, scales, and then really important to know your 1, 3, 5, 7s on every chord. Chord tones chord tones and triads make up like 98% of my improv language, along with blues scales. So I have a whole method within that of how to start to develop even more language, which it looks like from everybody that's going to be a future. We should do that as a future workshop. There's like an overwhelming amount of yeses. Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely pay for an improvisation workshop.
Cool, man.
I've been using a lot of blues scales. I think that's about it, but. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great place to start.
Yeah, that's great. We'll get into it. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for your kind words. Yeah. You guys, wow. We I don't know. I'm so overwhelmed with so much love for everybody who's been chatting and joined us, and just for being here. And we're self-isolating, but the fact that we have this whole community vibe and y'all are answering each other's questions, you're just thank you so much. Sax Gang. Oh, wait. Sax Gang. Sax Gang, we love you so much. And thanks to everybody who's taken part in this poll. Really appreciate it. And this is how we can learn about, teaching you guys, because we're learning a lot too. And for those of you who have not filled it out, a survey is going to pop up on your window right after this done. It would mean the world if you could fill it out, because we do read it, and we read your DMs, we read your comments, and we have nothing. So much love. There's so much sexiness.
Just thank you so much, everybody. This is awesome. I'm looking forward to doing more of these. Teaching, like doing this and doing some personal lessons too. It has totally changed my life. It's probably not something that I would have done normally, being on the road so often. I usually don't do this kind of thing because I'm tired when I get home. And when everything that's been happening has started happening, we both took this opportunity to do more of this kind of stuff, and it's been super important, super inspirational to me. So just thanks all of you for helping me and us be able to do this.
100%. It's been this really reflective, amazing thing. And when we get together, just like love just learning about each other's techniques and then teaching all of y'all. All right, just a couple last things, because we can't tell you how much we love you enough. That could go on forever.
We might have to do a whole workshop of that.
Yeah, just love for you guys. If you did not get the playlist link, please email workshop@weare2saxy.com. Sorry, not workshop at We Are Too Saxy. And we'll make sure to get you the playlist. And lastly, I totally forgot. Oh, if you're practicing these things, we definitely want to hear how it's going. So use the hashtag Too Saxy Workshop, and then we can see how you're doing and tag us as well. Tag Too Saxy on IG, and really just encourage you to keep this a community as well. Like, keep in touch with everybody here and on Instagram channel, and like y'all can be helping each other out too, and helping each other with the progress and questions. And we're going to dip in there as well, reading all your DMs and comments. So thank you all so much again.
Oh,
yeah. Yes.
That the other tenor player that has a CE Wins Diamond Series is James Carter. Forgot his name.
Oh,
Sorry.
James Carter is sick. Yeah.
He's a
And
beast.
yeah. Should add him to the playlist.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right.
Agreed.
Thank you so much, you guys. Stay saxy, Sax Gang. Peace out.
Thank you.